And yes, welcome in everyone to the Voice of College Football, our late night show for a third consecutive night. And we will take this all the way through the national championship game. How about that? So we are committed to this 10 p.m. Eastern time slot. So bring the family, bring the friends, tell the neighbors, get everybody gathered around the old. Well, I guess they don't need to do that anymore, do they? We're going way back on that one. Leave the comments and questions there in the live chat. And before we take calls, and we also have Elliot Clough from 247 Sports joining us at some point during the show to talk Iowa football. We want to clarify something in terms of that right there. So that has been a successful ploy on a number of shows, meaning we will continue our show for 1 hour. We guarantee 1 hour per night, Monday through Saturday with you. 1 hour per night for sure, regardless. The $150 may seem a bit exorbitant to some, but you've got to understand a few things. Number one, we make next to no money the rest of the time. So basically, I'm producing videos for $3 and $4 per. So I'm basically making nothing. So basically, that is $150 only for 2 hours, and then YouTube takes its cut. It really is not that big of a deal. And if we get the kind of crowds in here that we expect and should get throughout the course of the season, then again, it's extremely minimal. If we get sponsors on this channel, and if people use the Amazon link, then Super Chats, I have said going back, way back, that I could care less if we get one Super Chat on this channel ever if we have people using the Amazon link and we had partners sponsoring with us. That would take care of that. And the Super Chat situation, of course, we do appreciate it, but that should be icing on the cake. So just want to get that out of the way. If you do the math, it's really not that much money for yours truly, believe me. This channel and this network does not support me. Just to be brief about that, we don't make a big financial discussion out of this. We want to get on to college football, of course, but I just say this in response to some comments that have come down in recent times. So yes, this network and this channel does not support me. I basically support the network and the channel. So that is going to stop now. All right, we do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. We do have a couple calls coming in, and let's go to those immediately, and then we're going to get to the college football news of the day. And again, Elliot Clough from 247 Sports is going to drop by. We've got Aiden on the line. Aiden, what's going on?
Hey, good evening, Mark. How are you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing well. You sound good.
Well, I had a bit of a business venture today, so I dressed up a little extra nice today, got off the old rags, and decided to put on the wedding attire, if you know what I mean.
You put on wedding attire.
Like a suit, like a dress suit.
Understand that. Very good.
What? It's a business venture that I'm getting into a little bit.
Okay. We're awfully curious about that.
It's just like investment.
I'm just kidding. It's just college football.
So college football. So week 0 is this week, and it's Iowa State, Kansas State, and Dublin.
Yes.
Ooh, man, that in my opinion, that's going to be a bit of a 50-50 game, in my opinion.
Pretty much.
And I feel like, Iowa State, Kansas State. Now, those are two good teams in the Big 12. And in my opinion, that should be a good showdown of two good teams in Dublin, Ireland, this Saturday. And I feel like, with what these teams have been doing over the last couple months, ever since, the season ending, it's just, it's really interesting to see what these teams are going to actually do, at week 0. Because then we really get to know, like, what's going on with each roster. Has anything changed? Are they doing different, game plans, different schemes? Are they trying out different plays on offense or defense? Are they changed up, their schemes? So that's kind of where my head's at right now.
Yeah, we actually posted a preview video on this game, so anybody interested should check that out. We had Levi Stevenson on from the Iowa State side, And I hit myself here. I cannot remember our buddy from the Kansas State side. Anyway, from 247 Sports.
Isn't it John
However,
Grove from? Isn't it John Grove from Kansas State?
no. So
Okay,
anyway, my bad on that. But yeah, we posted the Kansas State Iowa State preview, and like you say, two what should be really good teams that could vie for the Big 12 championship. So I don't have anything beyond what I've posted. I did a prediction on Iowa State season, did a prediction video on Kansas State season. I expect both of them to contend in the Big 12. So this is a huge game right out of the gate.
I mean, week 0 is a huge matchup between two teams tonight.
I believe we have lost Caden. So we'll move on to call number 2. We got DeAndre on the line. DeAndre, what's going on tonight?
Mark on the same. What's up, man? Hey,
everybody
needs to go support Mark. I used to give him, not gonna say a whole lot of money, but probably during the week, it made up because some of the knowledge that he has given me over the years in sports betting has helped me tremendously, especially introducing me to Steve Merrill. So y'all need to, and a couple other people that introduced me to. So y'all need to support the channel. And, Mark, I ain't gonna hold you up. I do got one quick question.
Sure.
So I remember we were talking about. Sorry, I'm stuck in on that Mississippi State Vanderbilt. But when did Florida and Tennessee become a big game? Because they really didn't play that much up to the 90s, correct?
Yeah. So, of course, two teams like that, it becomes a big deal when they both get good at the same time. And that happened pretty much in the early 90s. Philip Fulmer, Steve Spurrier. That game used to be arguably the biggest game in the SEC for a string of years. And that was played a lot of when there wasn't a whole lot of primetime games on network television, a lot of CBS. Their one primetime game of the year, or maybe they would pick two, would be Tennessee and Florida. So when I think of that series, I think of early 90s to about 2000. And that's really when the huge matchups, like if we went from year to year, I bet if we pulled up that series, we would see their rankings just constantly be in the top 5 in the country for both of them during that time.
Right, because I don't think that series was that big at a certain point. But Mark, I'll let other people talk because I talk to you every night, man.
Well, that's all right, DeAndre. We only have one other caller here, and I was curious to look at this series because, like you say, they really started to lock in here if we go to the 90s, and I'll pull it up right here.
Look at Whitney Peter probably do better, but
starting in. Okay, so to your point, they played through 1971, then they didn't play for 5 years. They also had a 7-year gap from 1977 to 84. They had a 5-year gap from 85 to 90. Then they started playing every year, and then of course they were put in the same division in the SEC starting in 1992. But you had numbers 7 against 14, 5 versus 9, 10 versus 4, 14 versus 4. 9 versus 5, 1 versus 15, 4 versus 8, 4 versus 2, 1 versus 4, 6 versus 2, 4 versus 2, 6 and 11, 5 and 2. They just lived in the top 10, even going into the mid 2000s.
Right. Sometimes I wonder who was Florida playing in the 80s and 70s because you really don't hear about their program. I know they were really good in 84 when they got Pete from Clemson, Pale, whatever his name was. And, then the 90s just kind of jumped on the scene. And it's kind of a weird program for say where they came up.
Yeah, when I started watching college football, nobody thought much of Florida, but within a couple of years, like I started watching like 1978 was the first season I really, really remember.
Mhm.
And by about 80, 81, they started to be really good, not contending for national championships, but close to it. And then you mentioned the 1984 season where a lot of people, including myself, you could make an argument that they might have been the best team in the country. But of course, they tied a game, they lost a game, they didn't get to postseason play because they were on probation.
Mm-hmm. Who did they lose to? I didn't think they lost a game that year.
They went 9-1-1. We could call that one up. I believe they lost to LSU, or maybe they tied LSU.
Right.
We'll give that one a look. So in 1984, they lost to Miami in the opener, 32-20. That game was on ESPN. I remember that game. Then they tied LSU the next week on TBS, 21-all. Then they won the last 9 games of the season.
Oh, wow. I really don't. Well, I was 7, so I really don't remember that game. But, yeah, I didn't think they lost a game. I remember that year, but I didn't think they had lost a game. I didn't even know they tied the game. I thought they had went undefeated, but they couldn't win the national championship.
Yeah, coming down the stretch, they beat number 11 Auburn, number 8 Georgia, and number 12 Florida State.
Auburn and Florida seemed like it would have been a big robbery back then, but it just seemed like Florida really never played anybody but Georgia. I mean, it's kind of one of those odd programs where you really don't have no flashbacks of them being that good in the '80s. I maybe because of television, because Georgia, Tennessee, Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama, and Auburn. Like nothing with Florida really sticks out in the '80s. I don't know why, but that game. None of the games was like, yeah, we got to watch Florida.
Yeah, you're right. They never competed seriously, but they had good teams. They had good teams. A lot of 2 and 3 lost teams in the late 80s.
Yeah. Even I'll say this, and I'll let you go, Mark. Even when Emmett was in school, you really didn't hear about Emmett until you got to Dallas. I didn't know about Emmett till that time.
Well, I knew about him, but I didn't know that he was going to be anything special. And
Right.
he had a great career at Florida. He had a great career, but like you say, there wasn't just a whole lot of attention on Florida. I think they had one game against Alabama, a really good Alabama team where they won like 35-0, and he had a huge game. But, they were going to like one of his years, they played Troy Aikman and UCLA in the Aloha Bowl, and, they were showing up in bowl games like that.
Yeah, that's why I say I just don't remember them even going to a Sugar Bowl in the '80s. So
They played Washington in a Freedom Bowl in 1987. Those kind of games.
Okay.
All right, DeAndre.
You take care, Mark.
Appreciate you showing up. Thanks. All right, folks. We're going to talk some Iowa football. We got Elliot Clough stopping by, Hawkeye Insider, 247 Sports. Elliot, good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Mark. Been a while. Apologies for the delay and not getting back to you. I've been quite a busy summer.
I bet. Pretty busy for the Hawkeyes, although it's tough to get intel from most of these camps. So that's why we're knocking on your door for one thing. Has anything significant come out of Iowa football camp?
There's definitely what I would point to first off is that there's definitely an emphasis on the passing game right now, which take that maybe with a grain of salt just because of what the offense has been for the last half decade, if not more. But given how proficient the running attack was with Caleb Johnson and their expectations for that to more or less continue with the continuity of the offensive line, with basically 6 playable running backs at this point in time, 5 or 6, they're true freshmen as long as everybody's healthy, 5 or 6, but they're true freshmen. Nathan McNeil has come in and impressed big time. So right now they feel really good about the run game. They're really just trying to hammer in the passing installs and such right now. Wide receivers are much more confident than they were at this time last year, given the fact that all of them, for the most part, except for Sam Phillips, have been in the passing game for, the entirety of the last year, if not more. But Really trying to work on the nuances between coverages, between what route you should run, all of those things, plus integrating Mark Gronowski, who was not available in the spring because of recovery from injury. But that's been a huge focus for them. Sounding like Trevor Lauk is separating himself at left tackle. A lot of buzz around the defense right now, despite losing 8 starters. Cohen Entringer, a guy that's really getting a lot of hype right now. I guess those would be the things that stick out to me at the beginning of the conversation anyway.
So I from all sources that you can imagine, received this from an Iowa State guy, our guy Levi Stevenson, SB Nation, and also hosts a show for us that he jumped all over a Mark Gronowski practice. Apparently a 3 interception scrimmage that he had that stood out. But that aside, are we hearing anything that's on one end of the spectrum or the other in regards to whether he's looked extremely good coming off this injury or he's taken some time to work through some things?
It's been a mixture. Right now, I think I would probably lean towards wait until you see it. And I mean, I was in the same boat last year with Cade coming back off injury, Brendan Sullivan back, Tim Lester, first year offense. But there's been a mixture of good and bad, as one would expect. He's only been playing live football so far this spring with a new team for 2 weeks. I think jumping all over him that was the first day of practice that he's referencing. Mark Gronowski had not played a live rep since last fall. So I think that's a little ridiculous, but Mark going to what we've seen live in the open practice, which again, that was just over a week that they'd been playing together, that he'd been playing live reps. He hit 3 deep balls, 2 of which, or maybe 4, 2 of which were to Reese Vanderzee. Another one was to Seth Anderson. Had some issues in terms of the snaps and stuff like that. Again, that's a continuity thing. That's figuring that out with Logan Jones. And then he threw a bit of a silly pick to Cohen Entringer on a screen pass to the tight end. To me, what that was Mark continuing to get to know the offense at this point in time. 1, 2, it being practice and him thinking, you know what, this isn't a live game. I think in a live game, he would have thrown that ball away. And it was just like, let me see if I can get it over there. Cohen Entringer, who is arguably, possibly the best player on the defense this year, grabs it, runs away with it. Also, you could probably put the blame on Trevor Lauk for that. Looked like he got off the line really slow and kind of messed up and also they've been practicing against each other. Cohen Entringer knows this offense. Like, I just think it's a little silly to be all over Mark Gronowski one way or another. Like, to say he's going to light the world on fire and be the best quarterback since CJ Beathard or Ricky Stanzi or Drew Tate. Like, Nate Stanley, I think, is a fair jump to make. But I think it's a little silly to go one way or another at this point.
You bring up the wide receivers, and I want to backtrack to that because you almost kind of had a semi-apology between the lines there, because anytime you bring up, Iowa's passing game, there's a little chuckle out there. We can almost hear it come from the chat, oh yeah, they're working on the passing game. But Tim Lester, it's pretty remarkable what he's been able to do at the wide receiver position at his former stop. And it's not like they were bringing in 5 stars that he turned into NFL players. And considering even the size limitations of some of these guys that he turned into high draft picks. And again, it wasn't just like a one-off, like one dude just took off and he gets the credit for it. You're talking 3 or 4 guys in a short span of time. So it's just going to be very interesting to see if they have a functional passing game. And you got to think that they got the right guy in play, both from an offensive coordinator and a wide receiver standpoint.
Dare I say that this group is deep? Like, it almost, like you said, it almost feels wrong to say that the group is deep, because I mentioned 5 or 6 playable running backs. They've got 8 playable wide receivers at this point in time. You go down the list in Jacob Gill, Reese Vanderzee, Sam Phillips, Dayton Howard, Seth Anderson, Caden Weegan, KJ Parker, Jarriett Bowie. That's 8 as far as I got. And then they've got another scholarship receiver who's a freshman in Terrence Smith. I don't think he's going to play much, if at all, this year. But it's a group of 8 guys that you look at and be like, I could see that guy going for, however many 100 yards this season. If they have a go-to guy, I do think it's going to be Reese Vanderzee. He was really good in the limited, relative to wide receivers at Iowa, but really good in the availability that he had where he was healthy last year. A true X that can go up and get it, a guy that put on some really good weight this offseason, a lot stronger, so he's not going to get manhandled in Big Ten play like he did a little bit last year. Jacob Gill has an opportunity to be that safety valve type of receiver again. And Sam Phillips, we haven't heard or seen a ton at this point. He was hurt a decent amount in the spring, but he's a speedster that could return punts. There's been a lot of hype about KJ Parker. He's a guy that went incredibly under-recruited out of high school in the Chicago Catholic League, which if you need to know anything about Chicago football or recruiting, that Catholic League is loaded. He's from Immaculate Conception Prep. And it was initially recruited as a DB, and then Iowa decided to bring him in as a receiver. But and Dayton Howard went without a scholarship, and I really think they're on a much better trajectory than they have been probably the last 4 years at receiver. I mean, in 22, they had 1 scholarship receiver healthy, and now he's playing professional baseball. It's just a different room now. And I personally think Vanderzee could be in line for a breakout season. You're probably going to be looking at Iowa's at least one receiver surpassing probably at least the 500-yard mark, which in Iowa City is a freaking miracle at this rate. And I apologize to any Iowa fans where I'm providing these caveats, but it's what it is. It's the state of Iowa football. And I think additionally, having the crew of running backs that they do will take a lot of pressure off Mark Gronowski, and you're going to have fresh legs. You're not going to be relying on Caleb Johnson to win you every game, and I think Mark Gronowski has a better deep ball than I don't know, since probably Nate Stanley, and that's going to take pressure off the run game. It's just a complementary offense that Kirk Ferentz has has preached for a long time and hasn't gotten. This is the best shot they've had in at least half a decade.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hawkeye fans, the last wide receiver that put up just amazing, incredible, ridiculous numbers did so at Purdue. That was Charlie Jones, obviously. He leaves, and I still remember, Elliot, they played their opening night on a Thursday night on Fox against Penn State, and Charlie Jones is catching 10 balls for 120 yards or whatever. And then the next week, they go to Syracuse, Purdue, and he's another 12. And I'm texting Corey going, are you seeing this? Are you seeing what Charlie Jones is doing? This is unbelievable. Then he goes off to the NFL.
Shout out Brian Ferentz.
Yes. So another angle to this, and Corey and I were talking about this the other night, is we were looking back one season going into 2024, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong if you had a different take on this team, but I really thought they had an opportunity to do something big going into 24. The schedule set up fairly well. The defense looked like it was loaded. They were touted as top linebacker unit in the country, one of the top 5 secondaries, solid defensive line, the whole deal. And the defense just didn't come through. And maybe that was reflected in the NFL draft. Now, here a year later, people are kind of backed off on Iowa. They think that they'll have a decent season, but you don't see them in any preseason top 25s. But if you really look at this team, and every football team's built from the inside out on both sides of the ball, but Iowa's really built from the inside out. Offensive line, defensive line look really good, nationally ranked good, top 5-10 units in the country. And if Gronowski is as good as advertised, and I'm not touting him as some Heisman candidate, but, a top half of the Big Ten quarterback, maybe they surprise some people.
Yes. A lot of that is contingent on how good Trevor Lauck is at left tackle. He's not Tristan Wirfs. Like that's what we'll say. There has been a battle for that position between he and Jack Dotzler. Bryce George, D2 right tackle, All-American, was brought in to compete for that spot. Doesn't sound like he's going to be a viable option there. Maybe left guard. He's a depth piece. So that is where it starts in terms of the concerns. As far as the D line goes, referring to last year, they really only had 2 defensive tackles that were up to par, and they like to rotate that defensive line group. This year, they bring in Bryce Hawthorne, who maybe I should have mentioned at the top of the show, because I mean, right when he arrived on campus, I had a few folks from behind the scenes saying, "Oh, this guy's a freak. Like, he's legit." To go out and get him out of the portal when you lose a YA Black was massive. Jonah Pace is brought in. Jeremiah Pittman's still working on getting healthy, as far as I know, but they're way more deep at D tackle overall. Will Hubert's a name to know, that played some snaps last year as a walk on, and that they feel comfortable with. It's not, oh, we got to go to Will here, but it's, guys got to get some rest. Like, he's a walk on for a reason. And then you go to the defensive end spots and you look at Max Llewellyn and Ethan Herkett. Ethan Herkett led the team in sacks and tackles for loss last year. He's back. Max Llewellyn looks like a edge at the defense at the NFL level with his frame. And he's got a nasty spin move. Brian Allen, a physical freak. He missed the spring, but you're hoping that he's going to be healthy. Kenneth Merriweather, you hope he takes a step. And then you look at 5-star Yosei Epinesa. You cannot forget about him. He's probably not going to be necessarily a fixture in the rotation, but he's starting to pick things up, and I think he's moving in the right direction. He'll probably be a guy that if he burns his red shirt, it'll be later on in the year. He's not going to, be a fixture like I mentioned. But you mentioned the secondary not really living up to the hype last season, and they didn't. Like, there's no way around it. They allowed way too many explosive plays. I think they're in a better spot this year in terms of the cash, maybe not better spot. I don't know, maybe better spot in terms of production, but the safeties and cash, you move Xavier Wampa over to free. He's more natural there. I think Cohen Unstringer and Zach Lutmer are interchangeable at strong in cash. That's what they've been doing so far. They'll probably flip-flop depending on matchups. And there's been a lot of buzz about TJ Hall. He, had a pretty bad start to his career against Nebraska a couple years ago. That one Nebraska loss in the last 10 years. He just got cooked by an NFL receiver, and he was young. There's only so much you can do about that. I don't know that Deshaun Lee has gotten that much better since he filled in for Cooper DeJean and towards the end of that 23 season, but it sounds like he's CB2. And then you hope Shaheed Barros is good enough to play against Big Ten receivers, because he was good at South Dakota, but at South Dakota, fun fact, he intercepted Mark Gronowski when they played each other, and also intercepted Tommy Schuster when they played North Dakota, who also transferred up to the Power 4, was a backup at Michigan State. But he's got the physical tools. You would prefer to have had him come in and beat Deshaun Lee for that corner 2 spot. But as long as he's serviceable, that's what you hope for. And then beyond that, you've got young guys in Jalen Watson and Rashad Godfrey that have impressed. Jalen Watson, I'm hearing, getting some snaps at the nickel, or what Iowa calls the cash. So some versatility there. There is, and then, I kind of glossed over the linebackers. We don't know a ton about them other than they've been around for a while. Carson Shire, notably kind of an athletic freak, but Jaden Harrell and his limited availability and limited time that he's seen the field was not good against UCLA. Those young guys in Preston Reese, Derek Weiskopf, and Kim Buffington are knocking on the door, but you can't forget about Landon Van Keekerix and Jaden Montgomery either. I mean, there are so many questions and so many ways this season could go. Like, I could go, we could talk about it for 3 hours if you really wanted me to, but there's so many different ways this season can go in so many different facets. Question marks to me are linebacker, corner, at left tackle. Like that is, and quarterback health are all the things that are contingent. Iowa's success is contingent on those 4 question marks.
Elliot Clough's here breaking down Iowa football. And Elliot, I'm guessing the best place to track all your work is just to go to X and follow you right there.
Yeah, that's great. You might see some of my other stuff from Prep Red Zone and Prep Hoops as I've started 2 new gigs right now. But yeah, that's a great place to go. Hawkeye Insider. My teammates David Eichelt and Sean Bach do awesome work too. So you can always check out our stuff at Hawkeye Insider too.
I got to ask about the schedule. So, with some teams, you can get a pretty good read on what they're trying to accomplish with the schedule. They're trying to go to Texas or Florida for recruiting, or, they obviously have certain angles with certain teams. Obviously, Iowa State's always the game in week 2, but the other 2 games, it appears that Iowa just kind of fills them out. Like, it's always like 2 MAC schools or a MAC school and an FCS, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the deal.
Yeah.
Is there any like strategy that you've heard approach to filling out the non-conference schedule?
So much of their schedule, when you're in the Big Ten, when you're in the SEC, like pundits will be pissed off that you don't play somebody that's really like, why would you? Honestly, like if you are Iowa, like as a fan, I'm like, yeah, go and play. I don't know. I almost said Washington, but they're in the same conference now. Go and play. I don't know, like off the top of my, like Louisville. Like that would be awesome. That'd be so fun as a fan, as a generic fan of Iowa football, maybe not an Iowa fan. But when you're Iowa yourself, your schedule is already hard enough. Iowa State is not a pushover anymore.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten, even if you get an easy schedule like last year, you drop a couple games and you're out of the playoff picture. So you just don't need that non-conference top 25 matchup. And like Iowa is so Midwest. They have their roots in recruiting that I don't know that that's even a thought for Kirk Ferentz is, we should go to Texas, like that, whatever. You look at Albany and UMass, and like Albany complete roster turnover. Their head coach is still listed as interim head coach on their website. I don't know if that's just like a back end thing that they haven't addressed yet. And then UMass hasn't had a winning season since they were in the FCS. So it's a get right, work the kinks out kind of thing. That is Kirk Ferentz's MO. I think they've learned their lesson. I would be shocked if they play another Dakota team after losing to North Dakota State however many years ago, and then South Dakota State coming and having that 7-3 debacle without a touchdown. I would be shocked if they ever play another high-level MVFC team again. They'll play UNI in the near future, but UNI, I actually went to UNI, so I know the program decently well. They're starting over. They should throttle a team like UNI in the future. But there's really no thought to it's here. We'll give you 200, however much money, $1 million, and beat the crap out of you. See you later. That's the thinking.
If they beat Iowa State in week 2, Kirk will become the all-time wins leader in the Big Ten. That's a Fox Big Noon. I know it's 11 a.m. locally, but Big Noon kickoff. It's the featured game in the Big Ten. That'll be a big deal if they get the win against Iowa State, and all that other stuff falls into place too.
That will be, like we saw last season, how that game goes tends to be, at least in recent memory, tends to be how the season goes. Because last season, they lost that game and CFP hopes kind of went out the window. You had Ohio State, I think 2 or 3 weeks later, and you're already 2 losses. So you're like 3-2, 4-2, whatever they were. Like getting in the college football playoff, they would have had to win out, and that would have been really difficult. And they may not have even gotten in because who knows? The committee could look at them and be like, "Who's their win other than whoever?" It's a scenario that often determines how the season goes. And if they go to Ames, and Matt Campbell hasn't beaten Iowa at home in his entire tenure as being the head coach. It hasn't happened since 2011. I think Steel Jantz, which is a deep cut for any college football fan, they beat Iowa at home. It's going to be like we did our season prediction show today, and I picked Iowa State to beat them. Like it with Rocco Becht back, and the fact that they will have played Kansas State already and been punched in the mouth, like Iowa's going to go into this game against Albany and wipe the floor with them. And so it's just a scenario where I see Iowa State having the opportunity to get a bit of more of a rhythm where Iowa is coming in, and they'll have to kind of figure that out. That's the reason but at the same time, I could see it going either way, because Iowa State could be, I mean, this is a year where they have a bunch of hype going into the year. When they've had hype before, they have sucked. So there's a lot of ways it could go again. And that'll be the first true test, but then you got Indiana, then you got Penn State, then you got Oregon. This schedule is not, it's not the Big Ten West anymore.
Yeah, I'll let you go as soon as I make this comment and whatever else you want to say. As soon as I see that schedule for Iowa and I see Penn State and Oregon coming, I'm thinking that's kind of really a make or break. Like, do you want that? Because there's the opportunity to really make a big splash. We beat Penn State at home or Oregon. I think a split would be great. Or do you just say, you know what, we'll play those teams on the road? Not that Iowa makes the schedule, but we'll play them on the road because we're going to lose anyway. So we might as well play, other teams at home and guarantee those wins. But if they want to make the CFP, and obviously we know what the magic can be at Kinnick, those are going to be two very intriguing games, especially, we've obviously seen this series against Penn State for a long, long time. But to see Oregon at Kinnick Stadium is going to be very intriguing.
And you know what? My stepsister is getting married that day, so I won't even be able to be at that game. Yeah. Oh, I'm not happy about it. It's also the first day of deer hunting season in Iowa, I guess. So my stepbrothers are pissed. Like she didn't consult anybody. But anyway, this is I don't think they beat Penn State. Like the way things sit right now, Penn State's going to be just too good. And like you said, if this was in Happy Valley, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Like, that's just a loss. That's the way everyone, I think, would look at it, other than maybe the guys on the team. But if there is an opportunity to beat either of those teams, it is at home. It's in Kinnick. Like Oregon, the weather's not great out there, but November 8th, it could be 20 degrees. It could also be 70 degrees because it's Iowa. But if it's 20 degrees, that favors Iowa big time. I mean, a lot of these recruits come from California, whatever, Florida, these places where they manufacture 5 stars. And in Kinnick, their players are effectively the fans are on top of the players. And I guarantee those guys in the front row, if it's 20 degrees, a bunch of them are going to be shirtless. They're going to find out the players' girlfriends' names and talk to them. It's just going to be that type of environment. And who knows, Oregon, there's a lot of new faces on that team. Maybe Dante Moore comes in and is rattled by Max Llewellyn, by Ethan Hurkett, by Bryce Hawthorne. So there's a lot of ways that I think we found a theme for my thinking at this point. There's a lot of ways this season can go. But additionally, what's Indiana? What is Minnesota? What's Nebraska? Because we've been saying it, media's been saying it for 25 years. Nebraska could actually be good this year. Indiana, coming off that CFP run, they have a legitimate schedule, but they also have All-Americans coming back. They have Fernando Mendoza this time around. Who knows, man? If there's one thing we've learned based on the YouTube comments from us posting our podcast about predicting the schedule, it's that there's no winning at this point in the year. You could predict them to go 10-2, and Nebraska and Iowa State fans would come out of the woodwork and ream you. And I picked them to go 8-4, and people are saying I'm pissing in their Cheerios. There's just no winning at this point. But that's this schedule. That's this team. That's where things are at right now for Iowa.
Good stuff out of Elliot Clough. You can catch all of his work there on X. You see it right there. You just spell the name, Elliot Clough, Hawkeye Insider 247 Sports. Great breakdown on the Hawkeyes, Elliot. Appreciate you stopping by, man.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Mark. Thanks again for the invite. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football and take your calls. So 19 minutes to go. Don't think we're going to reach our goal. So let's divide the time and get through the calls. We got 4, we got 5. So we're going about 3.5 to 4 minutes each. So let's get to it. We got Michael on the line. Michael, what's going on tonight?
Great piece just now about Iowa football.
Thank you. Elliot does a great job.
Yeah, but I got to ask you this. So who would you go to win a gunfight? Hit Elliot or Corey? Who would you have if they was in a gunfight to protect you?
If they were in a gunfight,
To protect you.
I have yet to see them draw either one of them. That would be crucial there.
Yeah, fair point. But I think Elliot would have the advantage. It just doesn't look like he's more aggressive. But I just and yeah, I'm knocking on Corey. Hey, I just want to know, unless something drastic happens, I think Ryan Brown is going to be the starting quarterback for Purdue, week 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. That sounds like that's going to be the call. Yeah. Has our buddy Barry Odom made any comments about when he's going to make that decision?
Well, they broke practice today and stuff like that because classes start. It was like their last summer practice before they start getting into it next week and stuff like that with moving in classes and stuff like that. I think they're going to be practicing doing some stuff either tomorrow or Friday, but I don't know how much you're going to get into it though. But I got a feeling by the end of the week he should make a decision. So,
okay.
But I will say this though, yeah, even though I don't know much about the cornerbacks, I haven't seen much of the practices. Some of them look pretty good. The same secondary has been looking somewhat good for Purdue, but like I said, it's against the team. But what are you going to do when you face live contact starting next week too? So,
well, let's see. We got Ryan Brown. We got Malachi Singleton, who was a big recruit for. Oh, where did he go first? Arkansas. He came from Arkansas. I think he was somewhere before that, but anywhere. Sophomore out of Arkansas. He was a 10th rated pro-style quarterback coming out of high school, and Bennett Meredith is the third stringer.
Yeah.
All right. Ryan Brown. He was impressive when he got into those games last year.
Yeah, the Illinois game, he really did impress me and stuff like that. I think if Mockabee can do anything he did like he did a couple years ago, and the other running back, he's escaping me. But I think if they can have success, run the ball like they did a couple years ago, that might be able to open things up for Purdue more this year. But like I said, it's going to be interesting to see. But I think
how does Devin Mockabee still have eligibility? That guy's been around forever.
2021, I believe, was his first year.
I am not familiar with these other running backs. Malachi Thomas, Jaheim Merriweather, Adai Llewellyn.
Yeah, Malachi, the second one you listed, I think they're going to be the primary backs and stuff like that. But there was talk recently that they might go 4 quarterbacks this year, but I don't see Odom doing that though. So, but the thing is, though, in my opinion, if you can get the running game going early, that's going to, I think that'll help Brown out. But yeah, because he can also scramble pretty good too. So.
All right. Everybody's got the scouting report on Purdue. Very nice. With Ball State, Southern Illinois, and then Notre Dame is the 4th game, but the 3rd non-conference game. All right.
Yeah, not bad. I think they'll split the first 4 games and stuff. But no, speaking of that, I haven't cut all your shows, but have you done anything with Maxon yet this year? As far as with the MAC, who do you think might come out of there this year?
I've done absolutely nothing with MAC football this year. The only time I touch MAC football is during bowl season.
Mm-hmm.
I did 37 prediction videos, so I did not get to the entire Power 4.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know if you maybe follow them during the season and stuff, but I was wondering who's maybe if it's Toledo or maybe Central Michigan picked to win.
Well, that's who I'm hearing. A lot of people like Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
And Toledo's got an early game, I think, week 1 against Kentucky.
Yeah, which is going to be a game. I'm trying to think. Does Iowa State play Kansas State Saturday in Dublin?
Yes, at noon Eastern.
Who do you think that's going to benefit more?
Well, I have no idea who that trip is going to benefit. They're both coming from the Midwest.
Well,
and we posted a video on the Kansas State and the Iowa State side, and they both, I hit them both up on, game day preparation. Obviously, it's completely different than your typical game week and what they were going to do leading into that. Doesn't seem to be anything outrageous.
No, I guess what I'm asking is who's more likely to maybe win the Big 12 this year between the two? I think maybe Kansas State.
Well, Vegas likes Kansas State. If Kansas State's a 3.5-point favorite in that game, that's actually, it's not a substantial point spread, but for a neutral site game for Kansas State to be a 3.5-point favorite, obviously Iowa State was the better team last year. They won the game head to head by 8 points. They were a 10-win football team. They've got their starting quarterback back in Rocco Becht. They did lose 2 excellent first and second round wide receivers to the NFL, but they've picked up guys in the transfer portal that they believe can replace Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. They've got one of the best combo backfields in the nation, does Iowa State. And their defense was so devastated last year with injuries at linebacker that they started 12 linebackers last year, and all of those guys are back. So they got 12 linebackers that have starting experience. So it's a pretty good football team. Both of these teams are pretty good.
Yeah. Is that a Fox Big Noon kickoff, or is that an ABC game Saturday?
That's an ESPN game.
So I mean, there'll be okay. So it won't be on ABC then.
It's an ESPN game. That's
okay.
I don't know what else to tell you. I saw ESPN listed. I don't know if they'll simulcast. I doubt it. It's Iowa State and Kansas State.
Okay.
Not the NFL draft.
Okay. Yeah. I was just wondering stuff like that. All right. Hey, partner. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Michael.
Night. See ya.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Good to talk some Purdue football. I love that. All right, let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. We got the Notre Dame perspective. We've got our buddy Rob showing up.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, good. So I just wanted to toot my own horn real quick, which I don't usually do, but I know the other night I called and someone asked me who I thought the starting quarterback would be, and I was like, yeah, it's going to be CJ Carr. You know, I'm pretty sure. And that was at a time when the entirety of the Notre Dame beat writing and podcasting and any kind of media whatsoever was all picking Kenny Minchie because they all got bamboozled by reporting or their sources or something. But I was trying to tell people, like, the word was that Kenny Minchie was being careful and, like, not throwing the ball away, but he was doing a lot of checkdowns and he was just playing it safe. Whereas CJ Carr was making some amazing throws, but he was also throwing picks because he was, like, pressing and trying to impress the coaches and everything. So there was a lot of hype for Kenny Minchie coming out. Like, everyone was like, oh yeah, Kenny Minchie's going to get the starting job, to the point where several outlets were just straight up saying, yeah, Kenny Minchie's the starter. You know, they were just basically taking it as a foregone conclusion. So I'm like, I just didn't see it. I mean, CJ Carr has the arm, and he's probably got the best arm talent of any Notre Dame quarterback since, like, Brady Quinn and Jimmy Clausen. And he's going to be able to make throws that, like, we haven't had a quarterback being able to make in quite some time. And, you know, he's a redshirt freshman, so sure, he's going to have some growing pains. That just comes with the territory. And I like that Notre Dame is not going to the portal this year, and they're going to trust in their young guys. And I think it's cool that, you know, you got a couple of guys that are actually good enough to push each other in a competition like that. And if CJ Carr doesn't work out, at least Kenny Minchie had a really strong showing in training camp as well. So I was disappointed with the Notre Dame beat writing. Like, I think the only guy that didn't, like, fall on his face and look like a clown was Brian Driscoll from Irish Breakdown, because, like, everybody else was, like, so butthurt that they got it wrong. They were so embarrassed that they were saying that it was going to be Minchie that they were basically just like trying to blame Marcus Freeman. And, like, some of them were even saying that, like, Freeman better be careful because he'll lose his own locker room over this. And I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? I just couldn't believe it, man. So I guess my thing is, I just wanted to say that I'm very disappointed with Notre Dame podcasting and beat writing over this whole quarterback battle debacle.
Well, a couple of things on that, Rob. One would be that, yeah, you know, I'm a big fan of Brian Driscoll. We're good friends, and he is good to us. And yeah, he's a great guy. So I will back that up, not knowing anything that he said about this quarterback situation, of course, but and hope to have him on here soon. And then it's funny that you bring that up, because I spent 8 hours in the car today. I drove to Miami and came back. Little business, little pleasure. And so I had 4 hours in the car both ways, and I never listened to any sports radio, nothing. I listened to the most abysmal sports broadcast out of Miami talking about claim to national championships. And these people, these two guys didn't know that Howard Schnellenberger was the coach at Miami in 1980. They knew nothing. I
Wow.
almost went through the dash of the car to rip the radio out because these guys were morons. They should not have been talking about the history of college football. Anyway, I bring that up because I thought, you know what? I got this long drive and I usually just listen to music and spiritual stuff, politics, whatever. I never listen to anybody's sports podcast or anything, but I thought I got the podcast app right on my phone. Boom, boom. I just called up, I hit the first one. It was Cover 3. And they brought up the Notre Dame quarterback situation. And they said the same thing that you're saying right there. And I cannot tell you who exactly was saying this, but that CJ Carr should not have been named the starter. One guy in particular was just adamant that Kevin Minchie was the better quarterback, that he was better in fall practice, that CJ Carr is only the starter probably because he makes more in NIL and he had a higher recruiting ranking, and they know that the fans want him to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and isn't it funny that all these people that are like, it's not like all the practices were open to the media. A lot of that, the stuff that was going down, nobody got to see. So, all we know is that the coaches, at this point, I trust Marcus Freeman and Mike Denbrock a heck of a lot more than some random, source that somebody might have, from like a Notre Dame beat writing team. So I just found the whole situation to be tiring and ridiculous. And I hate to say that because I'm a Notre Dame fan and I typically like a lot of these guys that I watch and stuff. So, but no, like I said, yeah, Brian, he was like one of the only ones that wasn't making a fool of himself. So, props to him, props to Irish Breakdown. Like he was fair about it. Like he was surprised that they named Carr the starter, but he wasn't like, trying to, cry about it. So yeah, props to him. But I just thought I'd chime in with that. And I really love the coverage of that Iowa breakdown. It's going to be interesting to watch them this year. And yeah, I'll be checking in from time to time. Always good to talk to you, Mark.
Awesome, Rob. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. You too.
And let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. And we got the comment coming in from Matthew Miller, member for 1 month here at the Voice of College Football. Well, Matthew, that we need to add this to the payroll because Matthew, we'll trade your membership and kick in an extra $5 a month to cover that. We should cover that for you. But we appreciate you being a member, Matthew. And of course, it's Matthew Miller on the Texas channel. So catch those guys it's either Monday or Tuesday night. All right. I wonder how much NIL factors into these battles. It has to be some type of factor. It does. It shouldn't be. It should not be. It should be a player evaluation on the field. That's what it should be. But it makes total sense that these things become a factor. They just do. It's like, if two guys in a baseball lineup, one makes a certain amount of money, there's more pressure to play that guy. That's just the way it is. But that varies from team to team. No doubt about that. All right. Ben's checking in here at the Voice of College Football. Ben, what's going on today?
Hey, what's up, Mark? How you doing, man?
Oh, it's Michigan Man. There we go. Absolutely. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I wanted to ask what I noticed there's a lot of hate coming from the Ohio State fan base for Ross Bjork. What's your opinion of that?
Well, my opinion has a lot to do with what I hear from my Ohio State guys, because I'm not going to pretend to know or have taken the time to really look into whether it's legit, discussed, or not. He has taken an angle that the rules are going to be changing very soon. Well, the rules have already technically changed with this clearinghouse and NIL deals having to clear the clearinghouse. And we probably, we heard reports where there was analysis done of previous NIL deals. And I'm trying to remember the breakdown. The ones that went through the collectives would have cleared like 90% of the time, but the ones that were done privately would have failed like 70 or 80% of the time and not made it through the clearinghouse. So is Ross Bjork making a wise decision by saying we're going to button up and we're going to go through this clearinghouse and we're going to be that strict because he seems to be losing recruits that way?
I will say, my bad. Go ahead, my bad.
And that's what's going on right now. And my 3 Ohio State guys don't seem to be too concerned with it right now because, we're talking about 3 or 4 players at this point. And who knows? They might have lost him anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. A lot of the hate I've seen is like this. They're saying this is the worst Ryan Day class, and it is from what I've looked at the rankings and all that. It is considered the worst Ryan Day class. But I think a lot of that has to do with from what I've heard is Ohio State's compliance department is like the strictest compliance department out there. And that's like what they're saying is like it's hard to get these deals through their compliance, and like they're very strict on how that works. But anyways, I guess this ties back to what I was going to say next was I feel like part of the complaint is that they're looking at Michigan being right behind them in the recruiting. I think Ohio State is going to end up finishing ahead, but I think the problem is Michigan's like in threat of passing them up this cycle. And I will say, was Jim Harbaugh just a weird guy? Because Sherrone Moore seems to be recruiting his tail off.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. I really don't know what to tell you about Michigan usually recruiting somewhere between like 12 and 20 in the rankings with Harbaugh, and that Sherrone Moore's done much better. You got to think that, and maybe I'm overstating this because there's plenty of older coaches that are more old school. Brian Kelly comes to mind that toss out top 5 and 10 recruiting classes. Nick Saban, obviously, but he's kind of a different cat because he could flash all the national championship rings and had the rep. But you would think that Sherrone Moore connects with these guys a little easier than Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, because it's probably been since Lloyd Carr that the past 2 cycles with Sherrone Moore, we got the number 1 offensive tackle, the number 1 quarterback, and now the number 1 running back. I don't remember the last time Michigan recruited like that, especially offensively. Can you?
No, I cannot.
So I think the future is extremely bright, and I know I hate to put this out there. I know Ohio State MSU fans were praying on the downfall there for a minute, right? It's looking like we're gonna be in the championship hunt, and this is the caveat: as long as Sherrone Moore is actually a good coach. The verdict's still really out on that. I mean, would you agree with that? He's only really had 1 year. He could have all the talent in the world. He's still got to develop it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to judge that year. Obviously, it was from a win standpoint a failure, but then they rallied with the last 2 wins. And, this is a guy that at least, however you judge the 3 huge games that he coached the year before at the end of the season, successfully, Penn State, Ohio State, Maryland. Yeah, the quarterback situation was just so bad last year with just average, decent quarterback play. Who knows what this team would have accomplished? So
good point.
That's a huge part of it, of course. But and that's why I'm optimistic about Michigan winning 10 football games this year.
Yeah, honestly, and this little homerish, but I think with the talent he's bringing in and keeping that defensive scheme that was so successful, and as long as he keeps the culture, there's absolutely no reason that Michigan can't compete for a national title. And I would say in the next 6 years, when you look at the quarterbacks that we got coming in after Bryce too, and the way he recruits, we should be in the national championship hunt almost. Maybe not this year, but every year after this year. There's no excuse not to.
Lisa Sims is on the record in the chat saying Sherrone Moore will never win a national championship.
Hey, look, she had that opinion. I'm evaluating like this. This is my main points. I'll hop off. If he keeps the culture that Harbaugh put there, if we can keep the defensive scheme that was successful, and if he recruits at a higher clip than Harbaugh to make up for maybe some of the coaching deficiency from Harbaugh, I don't see any reason why they can't compete for a national title.
Oh, I agree. And in this new era, they seem to be ready to spend and ready to go for the top athletes and have excellent recruiting classes. And we know the Big
They
Ten,
are, man.
anybody in the Big Ten's rolling in the money from a media standpoint. That's only
Oh, yeah.
increasing in the Big Ten's favor. Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna get out here, man. And good luck to Texas on the 30th, man. Julian Sayin, I will say that Julian Sayin does. I don't know, something about it. He might be scary. I don't know. I've seen the flick of that wrist, man. I've seen the flick of that wrist. So we'll see how it actually looks. But I think he could be scary. We'll see, man.
When's the last time Ohio State did not have an effective quarterback? It's been a long time.
Well, I'll say this: Will Howard didn't. When I say scary, I'm referring to like a CJ Stroud terrified me.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think Sayin got that kind of. Maybe this is jumping the gun, so to speak. But I think he could potentially have that type of arm talent, and that's the type of arm talent that scares me. Will Howard, I think if you have the right defense, I think you can contain that kind of quarterback. But when you got a quarterback that's on that like CJ Stroud level of arm talent, that just terrifies me in the Ryan Day offense.
Okay. We'll see. Julian Sayin, he obviously got the nod, so he impressed enough to win the job, and he's got to show up in week 1. That's not not an easy deal for a first-time starter.
For sure. Go blue, man. And I probably should change his profile picture now that the Stallion saga is done, huh?
Nice. All right. Michigan Man checking in. And it's been a nice show. Thanks to all of you. Some great calls. And, of course, Elliot Clough from Hawkeye Insider stopping by to break down Iowa football. We're here every night, Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, we got games coming up this Saturday. We got 3 decent games, a really good matchup with Iowa State and Kansas State, and then 2 other games. Kansas and Fresno State could be interesting as well. But again, it's the College Football Show late night edition. So grab everyone that you can find. We'd like to build the show during the season and get more than like 45 or 50 people here. Let's make it like 500 in the next couple weeks, and we'll go from there. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. You will see me on a Thursday, not just on this show, but we've got an Ohio State show that's typically on Wednesday, this week on Thursday. Can't tell you off the top of my head what time. And then we got the Miami show with Cam Underwood. That's going to be on Thursday as well. So you're going to see me 3 times on Thursday, Miami, Ohio State, and then back here late night to take your calls. See you then. College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.